question now is how do I continue to grow without necessarily creating more work for myself? And that's where, really the information with Enso really kind of answered some of those questions. Mark Bizak, I'm the founder of Powerhouse Properties 920 here in Appleton, Wisconsin. I was a chef and I was renting out the house I was living in as just a side hustle for some cash. And really quickly it became apparent that if I didn't block some dates, the house was going to be rented all the time. It just became apparent that there was an unmet need here in the area. So I realized that if I had a couple more houses, I probably wouldn't have to cook anymore professionally. Now today we're hovering right around that 100 mark between properties that are listed and properties that are kind of in progress, getting ready to be listed. So I think the edge has come from having just something that's very approachable in an area that has, was underserved when we first started doing this. And now, that edge continues to be identifying those markets that are underserved and also just making sure that we are always doing what we do better than everybody else around us. I've always been someone, in my management positions in the past, I love to fix things and I love to build things and put systems in place to make it run as smoothly and efficiently as possible. Then, if that answer is yes, then comes location and price. And I'm making sure that if people show up, I like to say, literally you can bring a toothbrush, a change of clothes, and go buy groceries and you will have everything you need at the house. Having all of these connections of people that I work with, not necessarily who work for me, but who have been successful in their own careers, and I've built a relationship with them to make sure they can help maintain and manage our properties. That's been really instrumental. And now really recently in the last, I'd say year, our switch over to a bigger management platform, switching over to Guesty has been really big for us. And then after that, implementing with Breezeway to manage all of our tasks, cleaning tasks and cleaners and maintenance. And then obviously the integration with Enso to really take over a lot of our messaging, our upsells, and really polishing that guest arrival experience and making it so that it makes it much more passive for us, where we don't have guests that are saying, where's my door code and how do I get this, and it's saying, hey, I already sent that to you, look back in your email. Instead, to create basically a marketing campaign where they are receiving these messages in succession, one when they book and it's going to their email and their text message and their Airbnb, and then one a couple days before letting them know, hey, we still know you're coming, nothing to worry about, here's your boarding pass, let us know if you have any questions, and then one again that morning of, to make sure that boarding pass is really always at the top of the heap and they're never having to search for it, has made my Friday nights much more enjoyable, because no longer am I getting a zillion messages where people are like, where's the door code? How do I get in? Are you gonna meet us? How does this work? So it's helped us a lot, and also helped us monetize things like early check-ins and late checkouts, and just kind of manage that all internally versus it having to be us deciding every single time if we're going to charge for it or approve it or whatever it might be. When I started this career, the thing that was appealing to me was the flexibility in schedule, because we have 3 girls, and when you work in a kitchen, you have 0 flexibility in your schedule. So I was missing a lot of events and family things. So when I started this job, I was like, it'll be great. I can work, whenever I want, from wherever I want, as long as I've got my phone or my laptop. And the reality is I was just working all the time from anywhere that I was. This isn't great, constantly having to answer these questions, constantly having to, re-explain things to people. We need some systems to make things more passive. So really integrating with Enso has helped us. Once we got everything built in there and set up and tweaked the way we wanted it, it's really kind of just taken over running all of those processes for us in terms of messaging and guests feeling like they have all the information they need right at their fingertips, and they don't have to download an app, and they don't have to do a ton of work on their end, where there's a very low bar to clear, a very small amount of resistance to adopt that method. It's just literally tap this link and it opens their boarding pass. because people ultimately don't want to read anything that you send them. But this makes it very, very accessible to people, which then ultimately means they feel like they have the tools and the information they need for a successful stay, and it means that they're reaching out to me less. It gave me an understanding, a true understanding of the processes in my company and what the needs really were. When I sat down with Francois and he was showing me this software, I mean, it was like I had this, imaginary checklist of like things that are difficult, and he was showing me like, here's all the ways that we can check those boxes. He had no idea what my struggles were. Obviously, my struggles are probably similar to the majority of the industries. Really made me aware of what I needed, and then immediately I was like, yep. But at the same time, maybe if I would have adopted sooner or adopted any of these software platforms sooner, I would have been able to grow quicker and been in a different place, where now we're able to start looking at, okay, we've kind of got what we want in our local market. Now what are the next steps for our company? What does it look like to manage properties that we can't touch every day? Absolutely, I completely recommend the software. Been very, very happy with it so far. One of the things that's setting us apart from a lot of our competitors in the area is just simply the adoption of this software, what it means for our guest experience and what that looks like. To me at this point, it's a no-brainer. It's something that will pay for itself in upsells. But even if it didn't, even if it was still going to cost me money for each listing, it is saving me a ton of time, and it is giving my guests a better experience. People who come regularly to our area will only stay at our properties and will book with us directly. But part of that is because they know what the experience is going to be. They know that the kitchen's going to be fully equipped. They know that all the beds that we use are the same brand and they're super comfortable. So they know no matter where they stay, the beds are the same, the linens are the same, the soaps in the shower are the same. So part of that also is the check-in process. Curate that a little bit more and make sure that it's exactly what we want, and give them a really seamless, no questions scenario where they have all the answers and the check-in steps with pictures that show them which door to go to, how to use the door lock, a link to the house info sheet, all of that stuff at their fingertips. It's making sure that first step is a positive one for the guest, and also a positive one for the relationship between us and the guest.